and gratitude for being here. If you're listening to this show, you've probably seen our promos all week talking about turning on the money tap. And what that means is, well, we're going to tell you what that means this whole hour, because this is obviously a touchy subject. It's a needed subject. It's powerful. It fuels us and drives us in so many ways, money. And we're going to learn all about it and exercise all the freedoms that we could possibly do here in being open to greater expansion. So to guide us on today's journey, we have Deborah J. Fryer, PhD. She is a catalyst for change and a transformational coach and speaker. She works with creative, spiritual, high-achieving entrepreneurs to help them tap into greater confidence, creativity, clarity, and calm. Sounds like our listeners, so I think we have a winning match here. I can go on and on about her impeccable background, and she is an author of books, and I'm going to let her share that throughout the course of this hour. So why don't we just jump right into this subject that everybody wants to talk about and listen to right here. Welcome to the show, Deborah. So glad to have you here.
Thank you. I am so glad to be part of this.
And I have to say that I caught one of your posts earlier this week saying that, oh my goddess, you are everywhere this week speaking about money. So is there a trend happening, energies moving in your career, or it's a collective energy that everybody wants to know? Or why do you think that is? Suddenly there's like, everybody wants Deborah and everybody wants to get their mindset in check.
It's such a great question. You know, there's that story about the 100 monkeys where people can be doing stuff all over the world, and there's a certain flashpoint, a certain catalyst, we say from a chemical perspective, where, you know, something just shifts. And I've been watching, and I'm sure we've all been watching, that there has been this conversation kind of quietly brewing underground around money and the 1% and the patriarchy, and there are certain things going on politically, and there is just a lot of rumbling underground where the collective, the divine feminine, is beginning to emerge. And
yes,
and so, you know, I feel like there's this energy that I am plugged into, that I've been feeling the flow of for quite some time, along with many other people who are doing this work in mindset. Somebody just sent me something this morning that I'm running right now, a month-long free brain training that's available online. It's called Master Your Money Mindset, and I am interviewing 26 experts all about money and wealth consciousness and the new feminine paradigm of leadership, things like your nervous system and the mind-body connection, and you know, conversations about nature and how our relationship to nature and sustainability influences our relationship to money. And I received something this morning that there's another money summit happening at the same time somewhere else online. And so I feel like there's a deep desire for people to heal their relationship with money, because our relationship
beautiful.
with money is really just a mirror for our relationship with ourselves.
Well, I absolutely agree to that. And what I'd like to do is ask you to maybe give some background, because you weren't probably always a money mindset extraordinaire. And I'll be curious just to share, is it through your own experience? And I don't know this myself, so I'd love to hear. Did you grow up with the right mindset? Is it something you evolved into? Did you suddenly have a spiritual awakening and an aha pivot? So just give me and our audience a little bit of background, what led you to where you are now and what you do, because I just love to share that.
So no, I did not grow up with a very healthy money mindset. My relationship to money was like many women. I felt very disempowered. I felt very victimized by money. I didn't trust money. I didn't have money. I didn't like money. I didn't respect money. I didn't like people who had money. I was running a whole lot of beliefs about how evil money is, how manipulative and exploitative people who have money are, how they don't care about the environment. I also had this thing running of I can't be spiritual and rich because I practice yoga and meditation, and I thought, it's not okay for me to have a lot of money when there are people starving in India. I had all kinds of beliefs that were in my way, and I had my own share of family drama, as we all do, where I grew up feeling undeserving. And at the same time, I am very well educated, and so I was running a lot of imposter syndrome. I had a lot of shame of, well, you should know how to make money. You've got such fancy degrees, and what's wrong with you? And you've fallen through the cracks. And, I just felt terrible shame around money. So my own journey with it was I began my first degree is in comparative literature, and I have a PhD in that, and I was always interested in stories and how stories transform. And after I finished my PhD, I didn't get a job teaching, which turned out to be a blessing. I ended up getting a job working for a documentary film company. And I was using my skills in narrative, and I speak lots of foreign languages, so I was working in lots of languages making films. And I did that for many years, and I really loved it. And I would feel great about myself when I was on a project, and I would feel terrible about myself when I was between projects. So I was really on this emotional roller coaster of I'm great if I'm being paid, and if I'm not being paid, I am in the toilet. And at some point on this roller coaster where I was totally jacking myself around based on a bunch of external things, I decided that I should go to medical school, and that was going to solve my problem. If I went to medical school, I would get a real paycheck, I would have a real job, I would get real respect, and so that's the path that I decided I was going to be on.
There are so many similarities I resonate with you on that I realize I need hours with you or part two, because there are so many things I could have grabbed while you were talking.
People that I work with have this same feeling of, I'm so smart, I'm so educated, I'm so creative, I'm so in service. I still have a story to tell, but nobody wants to hear it. Nobody wants to pay me for it. Nothing I do matters. I'm such a fraud. And we run, it's like we're these walking contradictions.
Wow.
So there I was, being my split, divided self. So I went down this path to go to medical school. And I was 2 years in. I'd done all of the prereqs for it, and I was applying to medical school. And in the town where I live was a flood. So overnight, we lost a third of our house. And the third of our house that we lost was the foundation of our house. And it's where my film studio was, it's where my meditation altar was, and it had to be gutted. And everything in it went into a dumpster. And so I lost, my income right there, and I was on my way to going to medical school, so I was thinking I was going to be a doctor. But still, I couldn't be making money the way that I had been, which was by working as a filmmaker and by teaching yoga and meditation. So that all went away. And overnight, we were tens of thousands of dollars into debt. So not only had I lost the physical foundation of our house, I'd lost the creative space for us to do our work and my work, and now there was no income being generated because I had no place to generate the income. A couple of weeks after this happened, my dad dropped dead of a heart attack. He just fell off his chair and done. And the next day, after this, the great loss of the security of my house and then the great loss of my dad, the next day it was my job. I was working in an anatomy lab at the university in my town, and it was my job to prepare the cadavers for the students. This was part of my path as, the doctor that I was becoming. And mind you that I already am a doctor. I'm already a PhD doctor, but I was so devaluing myself at that time that I felt like I wasn't a real doctor. I felt like a real doctor was only a medical doctor. Like I was a fraud, right? That's how deep my imposter syndrome was. So I went into the anatomy lab that day to prepare the cadavers for the students, and I had to take the heart out of a body the day after my dad dropped dead of a heart attack. And it was the hardest thing that I did, and it was the most healing thing that I did.
Wow.
Because when you hold a physical heart in your body, for me, when I held a physical heart in my body, I realized that everything I was doing to run my business, everything I was running in the beliefs in my head was backwards. It was wrong. Yeah. It was not honoring nature. And in the rhythm of the heart is this consistent receive, let go, receive, let go, receive, let go, receive, let go. And that pulsation is in every cell of us. It is in every breath we take. It is in every opening of every flower. It is in the autumn where the leaves fall off the trees. It's in the water cycle. It is a reflection of everything. And I had completely missed that. And I've been running my business
Beautiful.
only from the place of depletion. I was overgiving. I was undercharging. I had no energy. I was pulling all-nighters. I wasn't even charging my clients because I felt I didn't deserve to be paid. So the bigger the project, the less I would charge because my financial thermostat was set so low. And everything shifted in that moment of me holding a heart in my hands.
Well, there's always that. I knew there was, I intuited, was like, there's got to be just a moment where she was like, pivot, I'm on.
Not like everything went away. What I thought was my stability turns out wasn't my stability at all. And so, I'm going to get a little woo here.
Well, let me ask you this, because if it's a long piece, we should take a break, because we're at the end of the segment anyways, and let's just let people know. We're going to find out what Deborah decided, because that, I think, is a great opening to the next segment. And then we can get into all the knowledge that you're here to impart. So let's take a break right here. You're listening to Zeta Global Radio. We're so glad you're here today. I'm already completely in a compelling environment to listen to what she is telling us. Deborah, thank you. We'll be back in a moment. Conscious businesses. Do you have a powerful prayer, meditation, affirmation, audiobook, or music that you're ready to bring to the global stage? Have you considered taking your enlightened gifts to the next level by recording them professionally so the world can hear your knowledge and wisdom? Enlightened Audio and Sound is your production source for taking your talents and making them and you known all over the planet. Record in a magical setting with the expertise of renowned music engineer, composer, and recording artist Howard Merlin Wolkin. Will not only assist you in developing a concept that can be recorded with top-level commercial quality, but will also assist you in bringing your media asset to market in a variety of mediums, including digitally to iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, and thousands of more outlets. To learn more, visit our Facebook page, Enlightened Audio and Sound, about bringing your business and career to new heights. World-renowned healers, authors, and shamans, Teresina and Martin Backens are back in Southwest Florida for their highly anticipated Sacral Spiral Retreat coming up on June 8th through 10th. If you are searching for a deeper meaning of who you are, what your purpose is, how you can fully ignite your creative expression in the world, then this is the gathering for you. With only a few spots left, join us on the tropical paradise of Pine Island for a weekend retreat that is designed to bring forward your greatest knowing of self. Register now at beaconsoflove.com. It's going to be a profound weekend you deserve to experience. Welcome back to Zeta Global Radio. We are here with Deborah J. Fryer, and we are talking about her background so far on what was her pivotal point to get her to where she is now. So we are going to learn all sorts of wonderful best practices on getting into our own money mindset. But let's pick it up from where we were and take it away, Deborah, because you know best where your thought process was.
Well, so I was just sharing that I had this experience where everything that I thought I knew was stable went away. Our house, our money situation, the death of my father. And so I decided that I was going to actually take 6 months and give myself permission to grieve and run my business according to the laws of nature. I was going to stop overgiving. I was going to stop overcharging. I was going to stop devaluing myself. I was going to stop depleting myself. And I was going to really align with the rhythms of nature until I saw the first crocus. So from October until the following spring, I created nothing. And as a content creator, we sometimes get caught in this pattern of I need to create, I need to create, I need to create. And yet in nature, nature creates and then she rests, and then she creates more and then she rests. So I really took that into my business. The following year, so that a few months after the next spring after my dad died, without doing any marketing, my income tripled. And then I realized, I'm actually onto something very deep and very profound here. So I started to be more deliberate about how I was running my business and setting up my business to align with the rhythms of nature and putting certain things in place. And I noticed that when I was doing that my income doubled again. And so now I teach and share these practices with the people that I work with.
And I noticed somewhere that says that you typically don't do one-on-one sessions. So you do groups and retreats to share this wisdom, or how is your business set up?
I do work with people one-on-one. I work with my private clients either for 6 months at a time or for a year at a time. I don't do single private sessions.
Okay, good.
I'm helping people to rewire their neural programs. I'm helping people to really get into their conditioning and to create new conditions in which they can thrive. And a neural program, let's say you're running a belief that says, I'll never be able to do X. If you're running a belief that says, I'll never be able to do X, your subconscious programming is actually going out and looking for proof that you're right. And so it's going to create situation after situation after situation in which you can't do X, and then that validates your ego's belief about itself that you can't do X. So you got that belief because you've been reiterating that same subconscious program 30 to 50,000 times a day, times 365 days a year, times however many years you've been on Earth. So a subconscious program is like a super, super fast highway with 16 lanes. It's going to take time to dismantle that and put a new program in its place. You didn't get that thought of I can't do that just at this moment. You've been running that thought over and over and over your whole life. So you can't undo it in one session. And that's why I don't do private sessions with people. That's why I work with them over a long period of time. Because if you want to have lasting transformation, then it requires that you repeat over and over and you practice over and over the new way that you're wanting to be. That's how new neural pathways get established, is through practice and through repetition.
So for those who are listening to this and they're nodding their head and they're saying, yes, I know it's in my subconscious. I know it's a pattern that I'm not even aware of, but I know it lays dormant in there. If they're asking the following, will any amount of prayer, mantras, clearing, any these other modalities for clearing, will those clear a subconscious patterning? Or is there a fundamental science to clearing your subconscious so you can have patterns be more congruent with your consciousness?
So the scientific information that we know about how neural programs get laid down in the brain, they say that the neurons that fire together wire together. And what that means is that every time a neuron fires, every time it releases the neurotransmitters that are at the end of it, and that those neurotransmitters connect with another neuron, and then they pass it on. It's like your neurons are all playing telephone with each other. The more that we think a thought, those neurons actually get closer and closer together, and they kind of clump together, so you end up having this big bramble patch of neurons that you use all the time. And there's this thing that the brain does called dendritic pruning, where at night the cerebral spinal fluid will actually go around and clean up stuff that the brain isn't using. So it's easier to get from point A to point B. So it will prune away all the other stuff that it perceives you don't need because you don't access it that much. And unfortunately for a lot of people who are really struggling with money mindset or self-esteem or self-confidence, they're running lots of patterns that make them feel inferior, make them feel bad about themselves. And if they're constantly feeling unlovable or undeserving or unworthy, like they don't matter, like they don't have anything to contribute, these are things that I hear a lot from my clients. If they're running those kinds of stories in their head, they're not accessing their creativity. They're not accessing their genius. They're not accessing their joy. And so those neural paths won't be as active. It won't be as easy for them to access those things because they just don't use them that much.
Yeah, no, I think it's brilliant. I've not heard that before about in the middle of the night it goes and does pruning and cleaning, because I think that's so literal. Well, I won't say it's symbolic because it's literal, physical, but I think symbolically how it reflects how we need to continue to take stock of what no longer serves us in our lives. And that kind of reminded me of it when you said that. I'm like, see, it is literal, it's physical, it's mental, it's emotional, it's spiritual.
Yeah. And people think what serves them, when people are stuck, they think they need the beliefs that they have. And it's completely backwards. Because the reason that you're stuck is because you are continuing to honor and respect and attach to a belief that actually is a limited version of yourself. So you're going to have to get off of the land of what you know and into your pure creativity, right? If you're creating something new, by definition, you're doing something that you have never done before. You're thinking about it in a new way. You're experiencing something in a new way. And you can experience it the same way you've already experienced it based on the meaning you make of it, and then you're going to have a very similar experience. So, there's a kind of circular logic to it. If your ego is attached to, well, I know what I know, and I know it's never going to work out for me, that's actually fake news. But a lot of people lead with that kind of belief that they know what they know, and therefore they stay in that limited view that they think is the only view, when in reality there is a much bigger opportunity out there, because we're infinite.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're all breathing the same air. And, my inhale is the tree's exhale, and my exhale is the tree's inhale. It's the same chemical equation. We're in this constant exchange with the trees. We're in this constant exchange with the infinite, and people call it God, people call it prana or chi or life force or spirit or creator. But every single inhalation, you're bringing the universe into you, and now you are the universe, because the universe is dancing in you and animating you and vibrating you. And when you exhale, you are merging back into the one. It can't be any other way. Same with water, right? Well, the water came from the clouds, and it melted from the glaciers into the rivers, and it came into your tap, and you drank it, and then you peed it out, and it went back into the river, the ocean, and the clouds, and it evaporated back up, and it precipitated down again. Like, we are such an integral part of our own experience.
Let me ask you, thank you. You mentioned the word tap, and it was one of my next questions for you. We only have a couple minutes before we take a break. I wanted to ask, you mentioned so much about EFT. You didn't mention EFT. You mentioned about neuroscience, and I immediately went to EFT, and then it reminded me of what your book was. The original intention was tapping. So is that a big part of your work? Are you a big proponent? Because we've had many EFT people on here before, and it seems to be extremely successful and popular. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that for another minute, and then we'll take another break.
I love tapping. I personally use tapping all the time, and I use it with my clients. I think tapping is a great way to reset your inner conditions, and it helps you to unhook from some of the beliefs that may not be serving you because they're creating anxiety or frustration or self-doubt in you. They're creating stress in you. And when you can unhook from those beliefs, you remember who you truly are, which is infinite, which is limitless. And tapping is a great way to really shift your attention from the limbic system, the part of you that gets scared and reactive, and to bring your attention back out to the higher cortical areas of your brain where you are pure creativity and magic and inspiration.
I really like how you said that about, and this was in the first segment, about how nature, because I work with the 5 elements, it's a huge part of what I do and all the different things I do to support people, and about resting and about creating. So we're designed to create, but we're also designed to rest, as we're designed to give out like divine masculine and designed to receive as divine feminine. I think a lot of people get lost along the way and depleted, like you said. So the visual of resting is so fantastic because we can receive so much. We can receive so much abundance when we actually sit back for a minute, don't you think?
So true. And the idea of resting is also related to receptivity. And if you're not giving yourself permission to rest, you're not giving yourself permission to receive. And money flow has to do with you being willing to receive. So yes, I agree. They're very, very much interconnected.
Wonderful. We're going to take another break. Thank you to our beautiful sponsors who always take care of Zeta Global Radio so we can continue bringing you these wonderful, impactful shows. We'll be back in a moment. Hi, Lainey Savante here, and I'd love for you to visit my new Facebook page for my private tarot and oracle session readings called Intuitive Wisdom. That's IN2UITIVE Wisdom. Conscious strategies for manifesting a more harmonious life. Don't we all want to have that? Let's see what's in the cards for you as we look at what needs to be cleared, expanded upon, and evolved. There's a lot to explore when we take a deeper look inside ourselves.
Spiritual Communities Network, where we honor the uniqueness in our oneness. Visit our website to meet our vast spiritual community of healers, therapists, conscious events, and activities. Visit and check out our directory, upcoming retreats, workshops, products, free videos, and much more. Many services are available globally by phone, Skype, and other sources of media. You'll also find more information on how you can be a member to promote the work you're doing in the world. Visit us now at spiritualcommunitiesnetwork.com.
So we were talking off air, as we were talking on air too, about how about today here we are talking about the subconscious and limiting beliefs and all that good stuff, which really we may not even have a clue, right? That our subconscious has an underlying game plan going. So we were talking about, and let's talk about it now, Deborah, about signs or clues or sort of the writing on the wall, or maybe it's the big knock on the door. What is it that's leading us to believe that something is not right in the world?
Well, I love this subconscious because by definition, it's subconscious. It's underneath your conscious awareness. And so, you might be wondering, well, if it's subconscious, how do I even know how it's operating? And I work with people all the time, and they're like, oh, my God, I had no idea. And the reason they have no idea is because they're not aware that they're doing it. So I want to help you see the clues, because the subconscious leaves clues. So let's say, let's start with financial, because we're talking about money. So what is your relationship with money? Every time you think about money, do you start feeling certain feelings in your body? Do you start feeling angry? Do you start feeling resentful? Do you start running a story that says, well, I can't charge that much, or I'm charging too much, or who do I think I am, or nobody's interested in what I have to offer, right? I'm giving you both sides of the conversation, right? Because there are people who feel like I'm charging too much. There are people who feel like I'm charging too little. Both of those are conscious programs. There are people who feel like I'm such an imposter. There are people who feel like, who do I think I am, right? I'm not that great, right? Like people walk around feeling great. People walk around feeling not great. All of that is just your subconscious program. So every time you think about money, just notice what are the habitual thoughts that run in your head. What are habitual words you hear yourself saying? Same with love. If you're, in a relationship, so now we're in the emotional realm, do you consistently find yourself in relationship where you feel like you're the doormat or you feel like you're exploited? Do you consistently find yourself in a relationship where you're feeling disempowered or not good enough or unlovable? All of that is simply a reflection of your subconscious programming that is actually proving to you that you're right. Now, you're actually not right in the bigger conversation because we live in an extremely abundant universe, and the highest frequency there is love. So all of us have equal capacity to receive love. Money is simply the energy of love, and all of us have equal access to receiving and serving and offering and flowing with that energy. But we may not choose to engage with it because it doesn't feel safe.
Let me ask you, you brought up something very interesting. Some people could be, you've heard the term, of course, I'm just saying this for the audience, lucky in love, but maybe not lucky in their business. So how does one have so much abundance in one area but not in the other when they should really be kind of a unified field, I would think?
Well, if you are unified, if you are integrated, you will be experiencing integration in everything you do. Because the way we do anything is the way we do everything. So for people who are listening, if you're experiencing a disintegration, right, where it feels like things are falling apart, maybe it feels like your life is falling apart, or your bank account is falling apart, or your business is falling apart, or you just can't seem to be in a sustainable, consistently loving relationship, that is information for you that you are disintegrated. You are not integrated. And there's a split in you. And there's a split between your desire and what you think you deserve. And that is asking for healing from you. It's asking for more love from you. And when we're integrated, when we're whole, there's nothing but wholeness. There's a very well-known mantra that David Premal sings that's called Purnamida, and it's about the full moon. And the words of this mantra in Sanskrit are, when you add wholeness to wholeness, you get wholeness. When you take wholeness away from wholeness, you still have wholeness. Wholeness is the way of what is.
I love that. I think one of the things that we talk about on ZGR so often here is wholeness and oneness, and that's where we strive here. That's what every show's about, is for people to capture parts of these elements of the beautiful people like yourself who come on our show and want to share elements of how to become whole and how to become one and find that we're all connected. It's not somebody over there. It's not somebody over there. We are all one beautiful being. So how are you feeling in terms of, for people who are listening and they're nodding their head again, as I said earlier, like what she's saying, I'm getting, I'm seeing. What can I do if I am getting all those cues, if I am getting those signs of disruption in my field? Or they may not even have that sort of terminology. I mean, people listening may be just saying something doesn't feel right, and I'd like to make more money, or I'm not living my purpose and I don't want to live 9 to 5 anymore. So are there any like basic steps, any reflections, or something that they can do as an initial litmus test, like, okay, I'm ready to activate to the next level?
Well, if people are feeling some kind of discontentment with where they are, that's actually a great sign, because what you're discovering in your disappointment or your dissatisfaction is it's actually pointing you towards what you want. So, from my perspective, I'm going to borrow a page from the playbook of biodynamic farming. There is no waste, just matter out of place. From my perspective, everything is here supporting us. Everything is here modeling abundance and fullness for us. And for people who are constantly beating the scarcity drum, they're just experiencing an abundance of scarcity. They're experiencing an abundance of lack. But there is nothing but abundance here. Everything is available to us. So, when you're feeling like I want X that I'm not currently having, great. You want to celebrate your desire. The next step is you need to take action. Activation, includes in it the word action, and you need to take inspired action. How are you going to get there? So for me personally, it required me working with a coach, and it required me having skin in the game, which meant paying more money than I had ever paid in my life. And in fact, I paid more money than I had earned in most of the years of my adult life per year.
That's brave.
I invested a significant amount of money, not in a coach, in my future. And that's a huge thing that I'm saying. Yes, I did pay the money to a coach, but in my mind, I was investing in myself. And the cost of what it's costing you to live a life that doesn't feel gloriously, gorgeously active and creative and full of vitality and energy and joy and service, if you're not living at the level that you want to be living at, what's it costing you? I felt really depressed. I didn't have very high self-esteem. I wasn't making very much money. I there was a lot of friction in my family of origin, and everything was really just a reflection of me not fully loving me. Really, when we get right down to it, it had nothing to do with money. I was blaming money for everything. I was blaming my family. I was blaming my projects. But
I always say, what's the common denominator? Me. and being okay with knowing that, right?
Right. So I think for people who really want to make a change, you want to be witnessed. You want to be validated, which is why it's so important for you to be working with somebody who is living at the level that you want to. Find somebody who resonates. Find somebody whose vibe you dig and hang out with them. They say we're the average of the 5 people we hang out with the most. So pick the people that when you're with them, you're like, oh my gosh, I feel great. Or even, when you look at people and you're like, oh my God, you're so amazing. If you're seeing something amazing in somebody else, you're only seeing that because that's part of you that you haven't owned yet. That's part of you that's wanting you to claim more of you. So hang out with people who inspire you. And I would say work with a coach, because when you work with somebody who is, just like that next level up that you want to live at, they're going to help you. They're going to hold your hand. And, a lot of us run this subconscious belief that says, I have to do it on my own. I have to figure it out on my own, and it has to be really, really hard. And when you work with somebody who's a mentor, who's going to hold your hand and be with you every step of the way, and they're going to help you, and they're going to support you, and they're going to mentor you, and they're going to, just be a mirror for you, it's so much easier.
You brought up something earlier, and I'm not chuckling, and I almost feel terrible when I think about, I've known people who have served gurus, who have served spiritual leaders, who have said that they have taken a vow of poverty. And this is years ago. There's no one in my field I don't even know who would even think that makes any sense. But the mere fact is that people to this day still take vows of poverty because they cannot integrate spirituality and abundance, like you had mentioned for yourself earlier. And in fact, I've had that pattern or that belief system at some point in my life as well. But I just wanted to see if you've come across that too, because it's still shocking to see that people still believe in that.
I certainly work with clients, and I see that, in general, that we trade in the currency of poverty, right? It's fine for us to, meet our friends and say, oh, I'm so tired, I only had 5 hours of sleep. And the next one will say, oh, yeah, I know what you mean, I only had 4.5 hours of sleep, and my kids, la, 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 right? Like, people trade in how tired they are. They trade in how they can't afford things. And that's totally acceptable. We don't walk around saying, I feel great. I had such a good night's sleep last night. Like, do you ever hear that? Not that often. Do you ever hear people talking about how they love contributing to causes they care about? Not that often. Yeah. It's rarer for people to be super excited about their abundance. It's much more common to be super excited about their lack. And, what I want to say about your question, I love that you brought that up about having people taking a vow of poverty, because if you really want to serve, if you really want to make a difference, you being poor is not going to be helping the people that you want to help. The way that you can have more influence, the way that you contribute more and serve more and feel your own value more is by you showing up more and valuing you more. From my perspective, the spiritual people who are so committed to love and to sustainability, you should be making tons and tons of money so that you can spend it and invest in saving the planet and educating the children and making clean water available to everybody on Earth.
You're talking to someone who's helming a Music to Heal the Earth project, so it's interesting seeing who steps up and who really walks the talk, and and obviously in my case 50 musicians and celebrities and spiritual leaders have said yes. So this is just a really great conversation. We do need to go to break, so everyone hold tight. We have one more segment back here with Deborah. I'm so glad we do. We'll be back in a moment. Trice Massage Therapy and Skincare is Southwest Florida's premier holistic and wellness spa to relax and rejuvenate your well-being. Founded by Lucille Trice, this enlightened haven located in Cape Coral offers a variety of massage therapies including Swedish, deep tissue, and trigger point massage. Trice offers detoxifying body wraps and facials using natural organic ingredients to pamper your skin and restore balance and health. Visit their Trice Massage Therapy and Skincare Facebook page or call 239-672-0526 and book your experience today. Mention ZGR and receive a complimentary ionic foot detox experience. So we've learned today that we are infinitely abundant. We've learned today that there are cues and signs and different aspects to ourselves that we know. Don't you think we always know on some level when something's off? We don't have to have the big glaring signs. I think it's clear that if something's in our subconscious, it's filtering over to our consciousness. Wouldn't you agree? Or something can really be running in there.
I totally agree. And I think that's, in answer to your question, either last segment or the one before that, where we're talking about how the subconscious leaves clues, I like to say that the universe is a university. And if you take the class and you flunk it, you get a chance to do it again. You get a do-over. And you're going to get the same situation over and over again. Right? You get the same relationship. It's just a different guy, a different face, but it's basically the same relationship over and over again until you figure it out. And we get immediate information. We call that a gut instinct, right? Half of our neurotransmitters are in our gut. That's called the enteric nervous system, as opposed to the one in your brain, but it's part of your nervous system. And we ignore that, right? You get an immediate hit on somebody energetically. And then your ego starts to make a whole bunch of excuses and justifications and defenses and blah-de-blah-de-blah, ignoring the truth that you know. So we ignore the deeper truth of who we are. And that is key to this money mindset conversation, because the deeper truth of you, or the higher truth, the greater truth, knows that you are limitless, knows that you are infinite, and yet we keep insisting on our smallness. We keep arguing for our limitations, and that creates a lot of suffering and a lot of struggle.
How do you incorporate what you're sharing here with the neuroscience and balancing the ego with our soul and divine intuition? And I don't even know if that was the right question, but I think you understand what I'm saying is for people who know that there's beliefs running, where is that our soul, is that our humanness, like how to integrate all aspects to ourselves?
Well, so I'm very active, steeped in the traditions of yoga and meditation. And in Kundalini Yoga, I'm a Kundalini Yoga teacher, we have a mantra that we chant a lot, and the words are Ek Ong Kar. Ek is one, Ong is the creative consciousness that has created everything. Kar is the creation. And what this mantra reminds us of is that we are the creators of our experience. The only reason anything is existing in your awareness is because of your perception of it. Right? Same situation, one person thinks it's the best thing ever, another person experiences the same situation and says, oh my God, this is so terrible. What's the difference? Their perception of it. Mm-hmm. The same consciousness that created both of those people came from the Ek. It came from the one. I'm Jewish. In the Jewish tradition, we have a teaching that says when we're born, Hashem, Creator, exhales and we inhale. So our very existence comes from the one. When we die, when we breathe, when our body dies, when we exhale our last breath out, Creator inhales us back into the one. So we're always going from the one back to the one. And in each breath I'm taking right now, I'm doing the same. Creator is exhaling, I'm inhaling. We're one. and I'm exhaling, and Creator is inhaling. Like, there is no separation between me and Creator. So from my perspective, and this is just my perspective, there is no separation.
Right.
There is no difference except my perception of it. So I'm creating my own reality by my perception.
Well, and I think about some of the people who are listening to this, and many people have told me that some of the people listening may not even know soul integration, soul intuition, humanness. They're just human, and they know that they know there's more to it. Or a better way of just saying it, there are people just waking up on this show.
Yeah, I don't believe that there are people who don't know what it means to be fully whole. I don't believe that, because at the root, every one of us is fully whole.
I want people to realize is that the wholeness is all these aspects to us, and that all of these make up these this beautiful thing called you.
Yeah, I think we get derailed by our mind. And I'm saying this because this is how our conversation started.
Yeah.
That, I was your typical type A, Ivy League educated overachiever, very ambitious, very hardworking, and yet I felt so empty inside. And I was using my mind to try to figure everything out. And I was doing everything by myself. And yet I felt this deep emptiness because I was not part of something bigger. And what I realized in my journey was that I am inextricably linked to something bigger, as we all are an integral part of something bigger. And just as I discovered the interconnectivity in the body by removing the heart, I discovered that in my own being, that I'm deeply connected to Spirit, Creator, the source of all that is, because I'm breathing it in every breath. I'm drinking in water throughout the day. I'm eating food that, comes to me by virtue of this, sacred marriage of the heat of the sun and the rain merging with the soil of the earth. And I'm taking the heat of the sun and the water. We're talking about the elements, right? So there's the fire and there's the water, and it's meeting with the earth element, and I'm taking those elements into my body, and they're dissolving into me, and they're returning to the earth. I feel so connected to the elements that at this point, for me, it's hard to imagine not having that feeling of interconnectedness.
In the few minutes we have left, do you want to talk about some of your publications, some of your classes, how people can learn more about you, how they can dive deep for 6 months to a year, anything you want to share with our audience to help them expand further?
Yeah, sure, I would love to. So for people who are listening in right now, I am hosting an interview series called Master Your Money Mindset. And if you are interested in that, you can just go to the URL for that, which is www.com, moneymindsetseries2018.com. And that's a free interview series. It's running for the whole month of May 2018, and there are daily interviews with experts about wealth consciousness and about the mind-body-money connection, about this, humanity-divinity conversation, about tapping into our universal intelligence and really activating that, claiming that, owning that, so that you be the creator of your experience. So that's one way. I also have a website that you're probably listing. It's deborahfryer.com, and if you opt in there, you receive weekly emails with lots of opportunities to get inspired, to read articles, watch videos, and I do work with people privately, one-on-one. And as I mentioned, I have this year-long group program. And if people are interested in those opportunities, that is by application only. I do have a waiting list, and I do interview people to make sure that it's a good fit and they're really committed to having the results that they say they're wanting. I take this work really seriously, and I only work with a limited number of people, so that part is by application only. But you're welcome to shoot me an email and start the conversation if that resonates for you.
I think that's terrific. Thanks, Deborah, for being here and for doing the beautiful work that you're doing. I look forward to having you back again on the show and letting people get to experience more as you learn more and do what you do. Blessings to everybody who are listening to this show, and I hope you share this far and wide on all of our avenues, including our News Zeta Continuum on YouTube. Subscribe there and you get the show early, and you'll always be notified when we have another great show like we did here today with Deborah. You're listening to Zeta Global Radio, Lainey Savante. Again, Deborah, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we wish you all a beautiful and blessed week.